Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something a lot of us think about: how to unlock our creative potential, and how to get past the fear that can sometimes block our artistic dreams. Actually, you specifically asked us to explore this, and to really dig into it, we'll be using Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic.
Big Magic. It's such a great choice. Gilbert, she's best known for Eat, Pray, love that memoir.
Right.
But in this book, she turns her attention, that insightful view of hers, to the creative process itself.
And you know what's cool? We're not just giving you like a basic summary of the book.
Oh.
We're using a podcast summary of Big Magic as our jumping off point.
Oh, wow.
So it's like a deep dive instead of a deep dive. Like, we're extracting the most potent, valuable insights for you.
Exactly. And one of the most powerful ideas Gilbert puts forward is that creativity, it's not some mystical gift that only a lucky few get.
Oh, I like that.
She says it's a skill, just like anything else. You can hone it, you can develop it through practice and dedication.
That's so reassuring to hear, isn't it? I mean, it means we don't have to just sit around waiting for inspiration.
Right.
We can actually actively grow our creativity. Gilbert really emphasizes following our curiosity. What have you been curious about lately? That urge to learn a new language, maybe try a new recipe, or dive into some new subject you've been thinking about. That's your creative spark talking.
Absolutely. And Gilbert has this great quote: "Curiosity is the engine of accomplishment." She's really encouraging us to chase those sparks of interest, explore those rabbit holes, even if they don't seem that important at first. You just never know where they'll lead.
It's like, when you stumble across an interesting article online, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly 3 hours have gone by and you're like deep in a Wikipedia spiral.
Oh, totally.
That's your curiosity leading you on a really interesting adventure.
Exactly. And those adventures, that's where the seeds of creativity are planted. Gilbert even suggests that ideas themselves, they're like entities out there, like looking for someone to team up with. She likes, ideas are a disembodied, energetic life form. They're completely separate from us, but capable of interacting with us. I mean, how wild is that?
It really is mind-blowing. It's like ideas are whispering to us, waiting for us to hear them and bring them to life.
Exactly.
And the book has this great example of a filmmaker who gets a story idea while out on a walk. It's like the idea chose that exact moment to pop up.
It really highlights how important it is to be open, to be receptive to those whispers, to those moments of inspiration. Those can happen anywhere, anytime. Gilbert really encourages us to say yes to those creative urges, to trust our gut, even if they seem out there a little unconventional.
So what about when fear creeps in? We all feel it. It's like that voice of self-doubt that whispers, what if it's not good enough? Or what if people don't like it?
Fear is a natural part of the creative process. It's really about vulnerability. You're putting yourself out there, sharing your work. You're kind of exposing a part of yourself to the world.
And Gilbert, she doesn't shy away from this at all.
Right.
In fact, she embraces it. She writes, fear is a natural byproduct of doing anything brave. She wants us to acknowledge the fear, even make friends with it, but not let it stop us in our tracks.
Think about a writer struggling with the fear of rejection. It's something so many of us experience. But Gilbert reminds us the key is to keep creating despite the fear. The more we create, the better we get at navigating that fear, even using it as like fuel instead of a roadblock.
It's like working out a muscle, right?
Yeah.
The more we exercise that creative muscle, the stronger it gets, and the less scary those fears become.
Exactly. And Gilbert, she compares the creative process to consistently showing up at your own studio, even when you don't feel like it. She stresses that it's more about the dedication, the act of showing up and doing the work, than about the end result.
And that's where persistence comes in, right?
Yes.
In Big Magic, Gilbert talks about a novelist who kept getting rejected by publishers. It would be so easy to just give up.
Yeah.
But she kept going. And eventually, her book found its audience and it became a success.
Persistence is so important. Gilbert's reminding us that not every single idea will be a masterpiece, and that's okay. It's all about experimenting, exploring, learning from those failures. She writes, the results are not up to us, but the showing up is.
That's like Thomas Edison's famous quote, right?
Oh, yeah.
About how he found 10,000 ways that didn't work before finding the one that did. It's all about embracing the journey, the ups and downs, and realizing that even the failures, those are valuable lessons.
Absolutely. And speaking of valuable lessons, Gilbert really emphasizes the importance of giving ourselves permission to create. Even if we don't feel qualified or talented enough, So often we wait for someone else to give us the green light, to tell us it's okay to go after our creative dreams. But she says the only permission we truly need is our own.
I love that. It's about getting back to that childlike sense of wonder and playfulness, where we create just for the pure joy of it without needing someone else's approval.
Exactly. And the example in Big Magic of the crafter who found more satisfaction in making art for themselves, rather than trying to sell it, it really illustrates that point.
It's about shifting our focus away from the outcome and onto the process itself. It's not about seeking external validation. It's about finding joy in the act of creating.
And sometimes shifting that focus, it can really help us handle those moments of self-doubt and criticism. Those are bound to come up when we share our work.
That's so true. Criticism, it can be tough, even when, intellectually we understand that it's not a reflection of our worth as a person.
Gilbert, she offers some really insightful strategies for handling criticism in Big Magic.
Oh, that's good.
She wants us to see it as data, as information. It can help us learn and improve our craft.
So it's about separating our work from our identity, right? Like if someone gives our art a bad review, that doesn't mean we're bad. It just means that one person, they just didn't connect with that specific piece.
Exactly. And she has this line, "You are not required to save the world with your creativity. Your art not only doesn't have to be original, it also doesn't have to be good. It's freeing, it takes the pressure off so we can create more freely."
That's a powerful reminder for sure. It frees us from that tyranny of perfectionism. We can embrace the imperfections, the messiness, the pure joy of creating.
Yes, and that's where finding our authentic voice comes in. Gilbert, she believed this isn't something we're just born with. It's something we develop over time through experimentation, exploration, and being willing to embrace our own unique perspective.
In Big Magic, she gives the example of a poet, right? Trying different forms and styles.
Yeah.
Not to find the right way to write poetry, but to figure out what feels real and true to their own voice.
It's about giving ourselves that freedom to play, to explore, to try new things, and to do it without judging ourselves or being scared to fail. Gilbert has this question she asks, "What do I love to do so much that I'd do it even if I knew I'd never be acknowledged or paid for it?"
Wow, that's a question worth thinking about. It helps us get rid of those external motivators and get back in touch with the pure intrinsic joy that's at the heart of creativity.
Right. And sometimes that joy can lead us to unexpected places. Gilbert talks about the importance of creative living beyond fear, embracing those moments of inspiration and seeing where they take us. She shares how she stumbled upon the idea for Eat, Pray, Love while on a writing retreat. And that project, it changed her life.
That's such a great example of how when we trust our gut and stay open to new possibilities, doors open that we didn't even know existed.
Totally. It reminds us that the creative journey, it's full of surprises, detours, unexpected turns. If we're brave enough to follow them, they can take us to some pretty amazing places.
But what about those times when we get stuck? When it feels like our creative well has run dry. Gilbert talks about this too, doesn't she?
She does. Creative blocks, she says, they're normal. They're part of the process. And she's got some practical tips. She encourages us to do things that spark our curiosity, that fire up our imagination, spending time in nature, listening to music, going to museums, talking to inspiring people.
It's like feeding our creative soul, isn't it? Refilling that well of inspiration so it can overflow into our work.
Exactly. And Gilbert, she's really clear. Creativity isn't a solo thing, she writes. We are all interconnected, even in our creativity. What one of us makes can influence and inspire what another one of us will make, and so on, across generations.
That's beautiful. It's like we're all part of this giant creative tapestry.
And she reminds us, even when we feel alone in our creative struggles, there's actually this huge network of artists, writers, musicians, creators of all kinds who've faced the same challenges and made it through.
That's so reassuring to hear. It makes me think of that quote by Maya Angelou. You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have.
Perfect. And in the end, that's really the message of Big Magic. Creativity is this boundless resource. We all have access to it. The only limits are the ones we create in our own minds.
It's a call to action, isn't it? Embrace our creative potential, trust our gut, overcome those fears, and live a life full of passion, purpose, and joyful creation. As we've been talking about Big Magic, I keep thinking about this idea of embracing our creative potential and living a life filled with passion and purpose. But sometimes you get caught up in the how-tos, the strategies and techniques. Is there a core principle, a kind of guiding light that ties it all together?
There is. Gilbert, she addresses this so beautifully in the book. It's not just about the tools or the techniques. It's about cultivating a certain mindset, a way of being in the world that lets creativity flow through us. And that guiding light, that essential ingredient, is joy.
Joy. That seems almost too simple. But I feel like there's more to it than just, feeling happy while we create.
You're right, it goes deeper than that. Gilbert isn't saying we have to be in this state of bliss the whole time we're creating. She acknowledges the struggles, the self-doubt, those moments of frustration that we all go through. But joy, she says, is the fuel that keeps us going through those challenges. It helps us to kind of transcend them. When we create from a place of joy, even if it's mixed with fear or uncertainty, we tap into this different kind of energy, one that's more resilient, more playful, more aligned with who we really are.
So it's not about avoiding challenges, but about finding that spark of joy, even when things are tough. That really resonates with me. Remember that crafter we were talking about? The one who found more fulfillment in creating for themselves than in trying to sell their work.
Yeah.
They weren't ignoring the realities of the art world, but they were choosing to focus on the joy of the creative process itself.
Exactly. That's what Gilbert's encouraging us to do. Remember why we were drawn to this in the first place, Reconnect with that childlike sense of wonder and delight. She has this great line. Do whatever brings you to life then. Follow your own fascinations, obsessions, and compulsions. Trust them. Create whatever causes a revolution in your heart.
It's about giving ourselves permission to create, not for recognition or money, but just for the pure joy of it. It's that feeling of flow, of getting lost in the process, of experiencing that sense of wonder and possibility that comes with bringing something new into being.
And often when we approach creativity from that place of joy, that's when we do our best work. Not because we're trying to be perfect, but because we're fully present, fully engaged, and letting our intuition and our passions guide us.
This deep dive into big magic has been so insightful. I feel like I have a totally new understanding of creativity. It's less about achieving some external marker of success and more about embracing the journey, the challenges, and most of all, the joy of the process itself.
I'm so happy to hear that. And if you want to learn more about Elizabeth Gilbert's insights, I highly recommend getting a copy of Big Magic. It can really change your relationship with creativity and inspire you to live a more joyful, fulfilling life.
I completely agree. And for more awesome book discussions and decodes, make sure you subscribe to Book Talks Wisdom.
Oh, good idea.
They release new episodes all the time, and you can even leave a comment suggesting books you'd love to hear them talk about.
It's a fantastic resource for anyone who loves books and wants to explore those big ideas that shape our world.
So go out there and create. Embrace your curiosity, tame your fear, and above all, find that joy in the process. The world's waiting to see what you create.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep that magic alive.